Over to you, Modern.
Thank you, Fiona. I'm not very sure about the illustrious part, but my name is Modern Karema. I am very many things to very many places and people. I lead Star Education, which is an NGO working in Uganda, India, Indonesia, and Ethiopia, and we work with the ministries of education of those countries to do teacher training and teacher development. So that is the first one. And then two, I lead the team at Men Leadership Academy, which is a social enterprise that mainly does trainings and capacity building for mission-driven organizations that impact communities. And so that is the two things that I will mainly be dealing with. So for today, I come in from the leadership side, trying to do capacity building for those of us that would be on this call. I think I can use that as the introduction for today. I will ask Fiona and somebody else to do the recording so that those that have not joined yet don't miss a lot of what we are doing in this learning. I call this a conversation. It's not really a training. It's not a presentation. It's a conversation. So I will talk, you will talk, and we learn from each other. So I pray that when the time for the sharing comes, we are able to communicate with each other, both in the chat, but also by unmuting and we talk. So that's how this session will look like. What do I hope that we shall achieve in this conversation? One is understanding the breadth, the conceptual breadth of what is emotional intelligence. Mainly, I want to also clarify that in emotional intelligence, in the short version is EQ, and that is meant to be a direct parallel to IQ, which most of us are used to. So IQ, EQ, and we'll be discussing that a little bit more. And then, so after understanding the conceptual side of EQ, we shall then go into what does it mean practically. And that's what I call scenario planning. How does EQ play out in the actual world? Would be the second thing that we'll be dealing with. And then the third would be, so what does that mean for us on a personal level, on a career level, because that's the theme of the day, and for organizational development? What does it mean to have EQ or emotional intelligence as part of the world that we work in, that we live in, whether you're a student, whether you're an organizational leader, whether you're an entrepreneur? What does this mean for you? And so that's where I believe we'll be going as we finish this session. Hopefully we should be done by the top of the hour. Now, I want us to start from there and start with a reflection. And usually the way I run this session is I start with a story. So there was this organization in Uganda, NGO, that was working with IDPs, internally displaced people, mainly in the north and in the east. So the east has a history of having landslides. And so this team of staff, 1 driver and 3 staff, left Kampala, which is the capital state for those that are not from here, I mean in Uganda, and went to Bududa, which is a district that is prone to landslides. And so while going there, when they reached Bududa, because of the landslides, the car overturned. And it overturned, and then after everybody, I mean, all that scenario, the policy of the organization required that whoever is the driver of the car calls back to headquarters to ask them to give a brief of how the whole thing has happened. And so this driver gets a call, I mean, gets a phone and calls the boss, the CEO of the organization, and tells him, we are moving to Bududa and our car has overturned. And the first question that the CEO asked was, is the car safe? Now, you're dealing with a car that had 1 driver and 3 field staff. But the first question that this CEO asked was, is the car safe? That's the background I'm coming with as we move into this discussion, this chat, this conversation. What is at the top of the mind of leadership as you run your organization? And so that quotation comes in very handy when dealing with people. Remember, you're not dealing with creatures of logic, but with creatures of emotion. And that's where the debate, the discussion around IQ, EQ, and emotional intelligence, artificial intelligence comes in. There are many people that believe that on one hand, IQ is one thing that is important for organizations. So this plays out in the recruitment. You have people who are, very key on how many grades do you get. Is it a first class? Is it a second upper? Those that are lower second going down, we don't recruit. That is the IQ level, brain capacity, the cognitive capacity of a person. I would say very important, because you wouldn't want to employ an accountant who got a past degree. I think it's important that we debate that. But, and then there is this other one, the new one, artificial intelligence, AI, not EI. And one debate that has come around is there is no way we are going to beat machines on cognitive capacity. I can debate with you that you will never write a better article than ChatGPT. Why? Because ChatGPT is a collection of 1 million styles, brains of human beings. So your ability to beat AI is so low because you're one brain competing with 1 million brains across the whole globe. Now, where is the competitive advantage of the human being? It is in the EQ, emotional intelligence. That is what makes a human being beat a machine at doing things. And if we are going to be better as human beings, if we are going to win the war, the human being versus machine war, one thing that we need to deal with is how do we deal with what is specific to the human being, which is the emotion, which is the feeling, and therefore be able to become competitive in the world where we're going in. Clearly, we're not going to stop machines. We're not going to stop artificial intelligence. But one thing that we can develop within ourselves is how can we become more competitive in this world by using our competitive advantage, which is the humanity within us, which is the feeling, which is the emotion, and beat machine. So you'll be seeing lots of debate in this conversation on what is better, what should we go for, and what can make us move forward. And the conceptual starts from there. And what we are dealing with there is some 4 different definitions of emotional intelligence. Can you confirm that you're seeing my slides moving?
Yes, we're done.
Yes,
Great, thank you. Great. So what is emotional intelligence? And in the research that I was doing for this conversation, I got 4 of them from 4 different authorities, 3 actually, but the other one published 2 different definitions. The first one is from Mental Health Africa. I want you to see very specifically the words that are in bold. So Mental Health America defines emotional intelligence as the ability to manage, that's the action verb, manage, both your own emotions, so that is one side. So manage your own emotions, and 2, understand the emotions of people around you. What that definition means is that emotional intelligence is not about you only, but it is you and others. So the question that we would have as we reflect on this definition would be, 1, are you managing your own emotions? And then 2, are you understanding the emotions of the people around you? That's important whether you're a student in a university because you work with other students, other learners, whether you're an entry-level staff member, very important, whether you are a leader, whether you're a CEO, do you have the capacity, the ability to manage your emotions and understand the emotions of the people around you? So that's the first one. The second one is very close to the first one, but it adds two other words. So Harvard Business School defines emotional intelligence as the ability to understand and manage. So they bring in the understanding bit in their definition. So understand and manage your emotions, as well as recognize and influence. So they bring in some two other words: recognize and influence the emotions of those around you. Very close to the first one, but they bring in some three new verbs, three new action words that we can reflect on as we try to understand conceptually what emotional intelligence is. The third, which I would say to me is the best, is the verbal and non-verbal appraisal and expression of emotion. So those are the words that I'm very much interested in. One, verbal. Two, non-verbal appraisal and expression of emotion. So on your side, as you're dealing with people at your workplace, as you're dealing with people at your university, as you're dealing with people in your organization that you have set up or you're running, are you conscious about the verbal and non-verbal appraisal and expression of emotion, yours and theirs? And then two, the regulation of emotion in the self and others. So a new word there, regulation. And then number three, utilization of emotional content in problem solving. What this to me would mean is, on one hand, you have appraisal, both the verbal and non-verbal appraisal and expression on one side. Number two, you have regulation of emotion on another side. Number three, you have utilization of emotion on another side, all leading to problem solving. So if I was to draw a conceptual framework out of this, you would have appraisal, expression, regulation, leading utilization, leading to problem solving. So the reflection on my side and on your side should be, how much of that do we do? How do we embed emotion, its understanding or appraisal, its expression, its regulation, its utilization in the whole sort of problems at the workplace, in our homes, in the places that we learn from, all that? How do we embed all that in our day-to-day problem solving abilities? Or do we solve problems like machines? You have a problem and you have a solution, and that's it. No emotion, no, So how do we solve problems? And are we conscious about the emotions of people as we do that? So very good reflection that we can do moving forward. The fourth and last one is the ability to, one, monitor. So are we monitoring our own emotion? But two, other people's emotion. That's the first part of that definition, monitoring. Two, discriminate or differentiate between different emotions. Three, label them appropriately. And then four, use emotional information to guide thinking and behavior. Both these definitions are from the same writers. We would say those were the kings of emotional intelligence in the 90s, before 1995. The emotional intelligence started as an area, as a space for in the management sciences in the 30s. But these two, Salvo and Mayers, made it an issue in the 1990s, and then now it has moved into mainstream leadership and organizational management. So they gave the actual grounding of the concept. And so it's important that we understand what they thought emotional intelligence was, so that we are able to move along with them. The pillars of emotional intelligence. I'm trying to give you some time to first see both models. The first one is by Wearable USA. The second one is by Harvard Business School. I believe most of us would know Harvard Business School. The two are very much similar in terms of what they say are the pillars. Harvard calls it the 4 core competencies. Wearable calls it the 4 pillars, but it's really the same thing. Even the way they define them, they are really very close to each other. So I want to start with the Wearable model. The first aspect of emotional intelligence, according to Wearable, is self-awareness. And they define self-awareness from the viewpoint of, are you aware of your emotions? Are you conscious? Are you self-aware? Give you an example. You are a manager to manage your team. As you move to your workplace, are you self-aware that you're not emotionally okay that time? And so, as you work with people, you are conscious of your tone of voice, you're conscious of your choice of words, you're conscious of everything that you're doing, because you know that this day is not, I'm not really at the top of the game. So self-awareness, understanding both yourself, recognizing your emotions and understanding how that plays off other people. How does that influence other people? And that is whether you are a leader, whether you're a member of the team, because you could, I mean, you're a member of the team, you just had a breakup with your boyfriend, you're in a team. How does that play out amongst people? Because you see, you're a human being, you're not a robot. That you will come, and then when you reach the gate, you leave your problems at the gate and enter and perform like you performed last week before you got the breakup. So are you self-aware of the challenges, of the emotional challenges that you have, and know how that might play off on other people? So that is the first part. The second part is self-regulation. Now that you know, can you control how that plays out on other people? Can you adapt yourself to fit, to be comfortable in an environment so that you do not put yourself in a situation where the emotion plays out amongst people? Let me give you an example on that. You've had a boss who has a challenge, a personal challenge, and the whole of that week, and you see the challenge, people always know. They follow your emotional intelligence, and so they know if boss comes and in that week he starts banging tables. In that week, don't give him a request for annual leave. Don't give him any request for you want advance, no, because you will not get it. So they are aware about yourself. Are you aware of yourself, and are you regulating yourself so that you do not play out the challenge that you have emotionally on your team, within your team, if you're not necessarily the team leader, if you're the CEO, even worse, because everybody, you will just mess up the organization for that 1 week, or when you're not emotionally stable. So that is the second aspect of emotional intelligence. The third is empathy. Empathy is simply sitting where they sit, feeling what they feel, being able to understand what they understand, and therefore work with them from their point of view. So as you do what you're doing, especially this plays out from the leader point of view. Let me give you another example. A person comes, you usually see this when it is the rainy season in Uganda. A person doesn't have a car, and they usually come by 7:30, they're in office. But now, this day, when it has rained and they have not yet come, they start getting calls from you as the leader. Where are you? It's working time, you're not here. And the person tells you, the rain started at 5 a.m. I've got stuck at home. And what do you say? That's not my problem. I want you here. That's one element of lack of empathy. Can you feel what? Can you be where they are and lead them from that angle? And that doesn't mean that you necessarily lead to the mediocrity at the workplace, but can you, before you make the decision, before you do that, I don't care, you applied humbly, can you be where they are so that you make a decision based on where this girl has always been coming to office?
Yes, Modern.
Great, thank you. Sorry about that. So the other model is the Harvard one. This one is really not far different from the wearable one. The difference is Harvard being Harvard, they made complicated. So on one hand, you have, let me bring my cursor, you have the actions. So you have self-management and you have relationship management. Those are the actions that you would do in emotional intelligence. And then on the other hand, you have the awareness side. That's where self-awareness comes in and social awareness comes in. But also you have this column, which has the self. So under self, that's where self-awareness comes in and self-management. And then in the others, you have social awareness and relationship management, or the other side. Because the emotional intelligence is about you and others. Now, when you compare these two, clearly they are not far different. Self-awareness is the same as this one. Self-regulation is self-management. Empathy is social awareness. Social skills is actually the other way around. Self-regulation would be social. Empathy is social awareness, and then social skills is relationship management. So they are saying the same thing in principle. The difference is Harvard just gave a better, more academic model. Now, how does that play out? And that's where I want to go. We talked about these social skills as